What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here. I'm the founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Nicky Senyard of FintelConnect.com. And Nicky, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast. And I had a guest on Kevin Hurrigan. He's had an agency, his business since 1995. Because Nicky and I were talking before we hit record, is she had her business before the internet, right? So I don't want to date you at all, Nicky, but I was around before the internet too, so that's fine. But Kevin talks about his journey through all the different eras, and it was really fascinating to see how he navigated those. There's another really good one, Dee Clevitt. She basically specializes in SOPs for businesses. So if someone's kind of disorganized, or maybe if they're organized, they want to get more organized, she will come in and create specific, Nicky, you were saying you geek out on efficiency like I do, comes into a company and actually helps create or improve their SOPs for efficiency, onboarding, whatever it is. And we geeked out on our favorite productivity softwares and our tech stack in general. So that was a really good one too. Many more on InspiredInsider.com. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. And at Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream 100 relationships. And how do we do that? We actually help you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. And we do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So Nicky, we call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the host and the company so they can create great content and form amazing relationships. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com. And I'm excited to introduce Nicky Senyard. She's CEO and founder of Fintel Connect, which is a leading specialist in performance marketing technology for the financial industry. And Nicky is a 20-year pioneer and entrepreneur in performance marketing, building and exiting her first SaaS marketing tech company in 2016. She'll talk about. And she started her career in PR and marketing and leverages a multi-channel marketing approach, which she'll kind of share some of that stuff that encompasses social media, influencer marketing, and much more. You can check them out at fintelconnect.com. Nicky, thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
Just start off with, I want to get to, because you've tackled some industries that are complicated, that have a lot of compliance. Before is the gambling, now it's the financial services. Talk about just Fintel Connect and what you do first.
Okay, so very quickly, Fintel Connect is in the acquisition bucket of the digital marketing sphere. And what we do is we drive net new customers to banking products on a performance basis. And what performance means is that you only pay for the customer you get. So we technically integrate into the bank's core system, digital account opening system, all of those sorts of things. And a site like a Forbes Insider or a Business Insider of Forbes will take a link from our technology, put it on their site. A consumer will click on it, go and open a credit card, and we track all of that through to completion. And then Forbes will get paid, or Business Insider or Millennial Money. Any of these guys will get paid for a successful client acquisition. We do the tracking, we do the reporting, we do the commission calculations, and we do the payouts. So we're all in one shot to help banks grow.
What are some of the levers you pull, right? Because like I was mentioning, you really take a multi-channel approach. And with that, that's kind of a dual marketplace, right? You have companies you help, but you can use publishers, right? And their traffic, and you have to have relationships with those people. So talk about the partnership side of things.
So it was really interesting when you say that relationships are the most important element of your life. I'm 100% behind that. And it's exactly the way that I've seen the company grow, our company grow, and what we do. So what we do is we're sort of like the marriage broker between a financial product and these third-party influencers or traffic sites out there. So what we're just trying to do is we're trying to get the right customer to the right financial product through the right messaging. Now, that could be a really big site like a Credit Karma, or it could be a YouTuber that's got a small coverage, a group that are really involved in what they're doing. So we really see ourselves as providing the transparency and the clarity that people need to do marketing and put money where it makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching, obviously there's an audio version, but there's a video version. So if you're watching, you're seeing fintelconnect.com or on the publisher's page, right? And you basically will help these companies or influencers monetize their audience better too.
Yep.
So how do you convince, okay, you should use our offering over maybe they're being pitched a lot of different things out there?
So the really interesting thing, an affiliate or influence out there doesn't work with just one product or brand, because they're wanting to, it's like you with your audiences. You want to make sure that your audience are getting the best experience. You're wanting to make sure that they get what they need when they want. And the really interesting thing about working in the financial services in this middleman role that we play is that I see what our job is to make sure that the banking products get to the consumers that need it. There's so much good fintech product out there, or good commercial banking, or really good just normal everyday banking out there that people need to know about. And I see that that's what we're helping do, is rise the tide of financial literacy and understanding of what people can get out there.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I guess you banks or financial institutions will come to you because you have a lot of relationships, right?
Yep.
We're looking at here, you can see NerdWallet. I mean, you see some major Bankrate, Finder.com. We can see some major sites and then other influencers. So if someone has a lot of traffic, I guess they can contact you specifically, but you also deal with a lot of the big players as well.
Yep.
So brands will come to you. Great. Nicky has lots of connections. They can get us on a lot of different places. But I know you do much more than that. What else do you do to get these offers in front of more people?
So really what the situation is, these influencers out there or publishers out there actually have an audience, and they know their audience really well. And what it is they're looking for good things for their audience. So they'll come to us and actually have a look at all the financial products that we've got so they can cherry pick. So that's what we solve for them. And then if you're looking at the banks and financial services that we've got on the other side of the marketplace, they're looking for scale to work with hundreds of these publishers at a time. And our technology allows them the legal, the commercial, the technical to be able to set that up and actually move forward.
Yeah. And then talk about the solutions for a second. This is what we have, and then who you help. So who are ideal clients, customers that you work with?
So if we talk in the banking area, we're actually talking about banks that have actually want to scale their digital acquisition. They put their toe in the water. They know what their messaging is. They know what their brand is. They know what their product looks like, and being able to take it on board. And they're actually wanting to get it out to more people. So that's where the performance product that we've got actually gets them out there to be able to connect with these influencers or publishers out there to get the audience that they're looking for.
Yeah. Let's talk through an example so people can chew on something. There was a commercial bank, FBA loans. What did you do with them?
So there's a bank that we work with that we started working with probably about 2 years ago in the States called Live Oak. It was really interesting how Live Oak came to us. I think someone on their board said, I want to work with influencers. Just threw it out there. And the reason that they wanted to work with influencers, I think, was because they saw all of the noise going on about different ways to connect really intimately with audiences. And they wanted to do it. Excuse me. The interesting thing about influencers, though, is that they do usually have it, in banking, there's a pretty narrow audience for influencers. What you're more looking at is you're looking at more publishing sites where people are actually doing comparisons, they're doing product research, they're doing a whole range of different things. which is these publishers.
I've totally done that. Yeah. Like I've been on NerdWallet. I'm like, okay, what's the best credit card with the best points or whatever? And I'm looking through it and they have, and I'm sure they're all affiliate things, but it's still good information regardless.
It's brilliant. And NerdWallet's fantastic because they have such a clear editorial policy where they only review whatever you see on NerdWallet from a content perspective is true. They do a whole lot of different research into those areas, and that's what comes up. So what happened with this example that we're talking about with Live Oak is that, oh, I'm so sorry. They ended up looking and deciding to choose us as an option. And we created such efficiency for them. It was phenomenal. We became one of the most cost-effective channels for new client acquisition that they had, which was fantastic.
What should people be thinking about, Nicky? Because like obviously NerdWallet is something I've looked at and I feel like I can trust, but like people are hitting sites all the time. Is there anything people should look out for if they should trust a site and sign up through them or not?
I think the best thing is to, that triangulation of message. So, have you've looked at 3 places and those same 3 places say all the same thing, that you're at a very higher point of it being true. So I think that's the interesting thing is a brand or a financial product just doesn't work with one publisher, and neither should a customer.
Yeah.
So a customer should go out there and do their research and look at it, making sure that it's in all the places.
So Live Oak, they're thinking, and probably a lot of companies are thinking, we need to work with more influencers. They have an audience. We want to get our products and company in front of that audience. What else do you do with Live Oak?
Literally, we help them find new customers for the banking products, for commercial banking products, for the commercial loan products. That's what we work with them on, just to get new customers.
Got it. And then I know you also, and this again applies, I like hearing about this because I don't care if you're a financial institution, an e-commerce company, an agency, whatever it is. How do you, the levers you pull can be used for any type of company, and are you using these strategies? So I'm just saying, if someone's like, oh, I'm not in fintech, I'm not in banking, I'm not in financial, I mean, that applies, I know what you're saying, to our business as well. And we should be doing more of these things. And then you also worked with a large bank in Canada. And what were some of the things you did with them?
So it was exactly the same principle. They were, this was about 10 years ago. They came to us and said, we have shitty technology. We have legacy, I shouldn't say shitty technology. We have legacy technology. And we want to get into this affiliate marketing thing. You're a Canadian company. Can you integrate with our legacy technology? Can you manage this for us? Because we have no idea what we're doing. And can you help us grow this channel? And we did. So had worked with us for 11 years.
What are some of the things, I know when we are talking, you're thinking as a company of your plan for growth, and you're thinking, well, how do we 3 times, 4 times, 5 times? How do you think about that when you're like, okay, we want to grow 5 times? What's the plan to grow?
So I've been spending a lot of time doing this at the moment. And I think this is my second business. First one, as you said, we exited. The first one was self-funded. And I literally did my MBA, doctorate, master's, whatever you think over those 14 years that we ran that business, because we grew from 3 staff to just under 100. And each of those stages of business, which related to revenue, because that's how many people we could employ at the time based on our monthly revenue. That whole process was very slow and organic, which was lovely, which was good. Now doing this the second time round, I want speed. I don't want the organic. I want the speed. And that's where venture capital comes in. That's where growth equity comes in. That's where private equity comes in, all of those sorts of things. And higher valuations. But the interesting thing is I call it in the business and on the business. So what we were talking about in the first part of this conversation was basically in the business, like what do? We help financial institutions get the customers they want and pay a reasonable amount for that. That's what we do in the business. But what my job is on the business, which is where do we grow? How do we grow? How do we use the capital in the most efficient way? Where are the opportunities? How big is our TAM in terms of total accessible market? That's what my job is. And so what I'm doing at the present moment in time is that we are just finishing our third year as a business. We raised seed capital last year. And with the market change, I then started to look at last year, I saw the market was changing. We started to move towards efficiency of capital, which meant that we didn't have to raise again. And so we're now at a break-even perspective after doing our first raise, which gives us a very long runway in terms of growing the business. But even with that long runway, I want to make sure that we are getting to the place that this business is possible. And I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, how you eat an elephant is bite by bite. But what I like to do is I like to leapfrog back from the end in mind. Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits, always relevant somewhere along the way. And when you begin with the end in mind is that if I want this to be $1 billion company, how do I get there? By leaping back. So the first milestone, of course, is to be a $100 million company. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm looking at all of the levers and pulleys and processes and focus areas that I can get to that will get us to a company valuation based on a revenue level. And that's what I'm spending my time on.
So
and that's why, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, what are some of those levers you're thinking about to increase?
I think the thing that I focus on most is revenue. I think we've got a very predictable cost base for our business. So everything comes from revenue with either current clients or net new clients. And when I'm looking at, we did a big exercise over the summer where we looked at where we were getting the most churn of our clients, where we were making the most money, and who is our ideal client. And our ideal client is somebody that, I call it easy money and hard money. Easy money is where they love you, you love them, and they pay you a fortune because you're worth it. Hard money is where you're always justifying yourself, always justifying your case, and you have that heart in mouth feeling every time you have to get on the phone with them. So my goal at my ripe old age is to have as much easy money as I possibly can, where we actually solve a real problem that they really are prepared, is valuable to them, and with your background, you'll understand this. When somebody's in pain, they will pay any amount of money they possibly can to get out of that pain. And I see businesses are in pain when it looks at their growth and acquisition, when it doesn't cost them the fortune, or they're getting the wrong type of clients and it's still costing them a fortune. So that's sort of a really big sweet spot for where we are, is trying to help businesses grow, and therefore we can make money with them.
I have 2 questions on that, Nicky. One is the seed capital. The first company you bootstrapped, this one you wanted to raise. Your company was profitable, but when you went to raise money, what were the reasons that you gave to, and what were you going to use the money for?
We were using money just for speed. I think that the first example that I gave was when we organically grew, time was what cost us. We didn't have the money, so we took time. In a business now where we don't want to spend the time, we'll raise the money. Because time gives me the ability to put more staff on, to spend more money on marketing, to do all of those sorts of things, which we did. We spent money on product and we also spent money on marketing. So we were able to test and learn along the way as we went. And I'd never raised money before. So to me, it was sort of like I wonder what this is like. I happen to love it. And I think I love my investors. So I'm very fortunate in that way.
When I look at your business and your business model, I think and I'm totally wrong on this. So I'm saying, what objections is she's getting, right? They pay me. I only pay them if I get them a customer.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like kind of a no-brainer scenario. Like, you pay us when we get you a customer. So what are some of the objections you get with a company working with you?
Like everything, it's incredibly simple on the surface and quite intricate underneath. Have you heard of that saying where they say a duck swimming on a pond? Looks so elegant, and the feet are puddling along underneath. So with affiliate marketing, it takes time. The closest digital marketing other tactic I would talk would be organic search. Organic search takes time for you to get the rankings. There's on-site, there's off-site, there's how long people are spending on site. There's all of those sorts of intricacies that get you up in the rankings. Affiliate marketing takes time because those big publishers don't want to work with you if you're not credible, if you're not investing in your own brand. Sometimes people's products, they think are just the bee's knees, and then they're not. And other times they say, my onboarding process is amazing, and it's not. Sometimes they want all of this traffic, but they're only prepared to do a county. It's like there's all of these levers and pulleys that make a difference to this type of marketing work. And I also see it as almost the cherry on the top of your sundae, because with affiliate marketing, you have to get every other layer of your digital acquisition settled and set and capable. And then you can almost bring in the scale with affiliate marketing. So it's not the first line I would suggest somebody do, but it's probably more towards the end when you actually know what your metrics are.
Yeah, it seems like maybe I'm wrong, but like there's a lot of risk on your end, and you have to really choose your clients very carefully, because you could spend all this time and work, and like you could have success for someone, but that may mean if things aren't worked on with the onboarding, then you have to stop the campaign or something, all the work that you put in.
Absolutely. And it's not us that just waste the time and effort. It's the publishers. And they're what are most precious to me, because they've got a lot of choice. They can go to a lot of places, and we want to make sure that they know how much we appreciate them. So therefore, we don't want to throw just anything at them. We're trying to pitch. Sometimes we don't know, but we'll come to them and say we don't know.
Do you help your clients construct good offers, or do they usually come to you with an offering they want to put out? Because obviously the more compelling the offer, like, hey, we want people to see this, sign up for it. So how do you think about coaching your clients on, or maybe they come to you with the best possible offer?
So it's really interesting. In financial institutions, there are very big guardrails that they have to, there is a yard that they play on comfortably, and outside of that, they don't venture. Most of the time, a financial institution will come to us with an offer, and we will say the line of consequence of this offer is X, or potentially X, which means the volume's really high, or the CPA could be high, or whatever it happens to be. Sometimes they come to us and say, we've got this range for this offer. Where should we be if we want Y? And we were able to tell them. So the best decision is when somebody comes, the best scenario is when somebody comes to us pretty well conditioned, i.e. they've been listening and opening and up and understand what else is going on in the marketplace. And that they come in and say, we'd like to go here, we'd like this result, will this work? And that gives us the opportunity to give them the feedback to say yes or no, as it goes.
You ran the other company for 14 years. I'd love to hear some learnings through different milestones with that company. I think that was in the gambling industry.
Yeah, online gambling.
Yeah. So how'd you get into online gambling?
Like anything, you stumble upon it and you end up spending a lot of your life there, like everything else that happens. I was doing a consulting project. My husband and I had started a consulting business together. We started a consulting project. We found out as we got the contract or as we were going through it that it was an online casino. This was in early 2000. So it was at that time we were introduced into the industry. I was doing the communication element, the PR and marketing side of it. My husband was doing the onboarding and the staffing side of it. And so what had ended up happening was we found this area. They were looking for this affiliate thing. It was the closest things that I had been to work with journalists, because these publishers are like the journalist I used to be selling the media stories to. So that was where my affinity, if you leap from something you don't know, you go back to something you do know. And it seemed, because I was an earned media person, it made the most sense to me. Like advertising sort of like didn't make sense because you could waste all that money. To me, it just didn't do it. So, and that's how we got into the affiliate program for that. And the learnings that I had was that each stage of a business requires different structure depending on your staffing, not on your clients. So you can handle, if you only have 3 people and you have 1,000 clients, your structure will stay the same. But if you've got 100 clients and you go from 3 people to 50 people, structures have to change. Reporting structures, review structures, roles and responsibilities, salary bands, all of those sorts of things. So that was the thing that I learned in the first business the most, was that structure, even though people say they don't want structure, which just goes back to the culture thing, they actually really find it comforting to know what the next promotion can look like, know where who they can speak to about what and who they can't speak and who's responsible. And that was a really big learning for me. I'd never worked for an organization as big as the one that I ended up building.
Talk about some of those structure changes. So you go from 3 to under 100 people. Obviously, it starts out smaller, scrappier. What were some of the key structures you had to put in place along the way?
Because of where I'd come from, we started with great HR structures very early on, even though we were such a small organization. And that moved and morphed. It was a fantastic foundation. Like I actually say to entrepreneurs now, do things now that don't take a lot of effort, that are going to play really long-term rewards, and that is HR structure and organizational structure. Because at the beginning, everybody's sort of friendly and everybody's doing a bit of everything, and it soon comes that you can't have 15 people doing a bit of everything. You've got to have sort of roles and you've got to have responsibilities, and that comes with job descriptions and position descriptions and salary bands. And so that structure really, really helped, because at the beginning, like everyone was reporting to me. I capped out at 12 people. That's what I capped out at. And then they needed staff underneath them, and they needed to be trained on how to, they become content matter experts, but not necessarily management experts, staff management experts. So that's the difference, because you can be a content matter expert, but that doesn't make you very good at managing people or managing resources. And, like career planning. I was really lucky that the product owner I had in the first business still works for me now. So that's now 22 years.
Wow.
And one of a CRO in this current company has actually worked with me for 11 years. And people in the last company would work for me for 15 years, 14, 15 years. So I think when you can show people that they're getting what they need for life satisfaction, you can create a really good team, but that means that they need to have transparency.
With the new company, with Fintel Connect, it's not so new anymore, but at the time, at what point did you knew what you knew from growing that other company? At what point did you bring on a CRO and COO? Because I imagine in the other company, there was probably a number of years, I don't know how much time lapse before you actually put those positions in place. So compare that to this company. At what point did you decide to put in some of these more maybe leadership positions?
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, because I'd had the experience with the people that we were working with. So Alana always was our CRO, and Yvette was our CRO. Who's been with us for 6 years. Basically has been CRO for 4 of them, COO for 4 of them.
What do you look for if someone's like, you know what, I need a COO. I need someone to help with operations. What are some of the key attributes and characteristics you look for?
Structured and predictable, and the foresight of being able to see around corners. Because basically, something's always going to go wrong somewhere. So it's the finesse of being able to sort of see what can potentially happen and have a sort of backstop ready to solve that problem.
Nicky, talk about the culture, right? Especially in a fast-growing company, when you're hiring people, what are the things you do to maintain culture? I
had to learn, because when you develop culture over a very long period of time based on your intimate connections with the people that you're working with, it's very, very different than developing culture on a faster growing business during COVID. That is, I can absolutely tell you, I think we had some very big speed bumps with it, because we needed to hire people. They couldn't necessarily, and the other thing is the job market really changed. It became such an employee-led market, which didn't commercially make sense for this startup, where I couldn't pay the same rates as, like we're based here in Vancouver. So we had some pretty big, Google's here. There's a whole lot of really big companies here that, were looking for as many people as we were, and I think where the failure was the speed, but that was the requirement. And so what we've learned is going back to basics, where listening becomes really important, but also being very clear on what we're here for. And what I see that we're here for is to help not only our clients, but also help our staff get to wherever they want to be with skill sets and with exposure and understanding. One of the things that I'm very, very focused on with the people that I work with is that we develop life skills for them. Like, not just here, but where else can they be successful using what they've learned with us somewhere else? And that's where I think the culture is, where you were talking about this before, and contribution. Where can we really make a difference to the people that work with us? Where can we really make a difference for our clients? And where can we really make a difference for our publishers? And a lot of times that comes down to listening, but also being very forthright in saying, you want to do this, I appreciate that, but I don't know that that's actually where you're the strongest. And having that honesty of interaction.
You mentioned life skills. What are some examples of what people are, leveling up as far as our life skills go?
The ability to ask questions. So question asking is something that we rate very highly in this organization, or concentrate on, because when you can ask questions and you understand how to ask questions, it actually can unlock speed and efficiency and relationships. For example, if I ask you, what do you get when I ask you a when question? You get time. When are we going to do this? When are we going to do this? If I ask you a how question, you're going to get process. How are we going to do this project? How is it going to move along? How? Who? People. The interesting why, when people most of the time ask why questions, they get justification, which is, in a business environment, you don't usually want. So the trick is to create an ask a what question, which gives you information, and replace it with a why question. So what motivated you to do that? What did you think was going to happen when you did that? So it's the ability to ask questions is a life skill that I really focus here, and the ability to use language. So language is an incredibly revealing commodity. The words that you choose when you write or the words you choose when you speak create connection or expel connection, whichever way you want to go. So being able to understand language choices and be able to ask questions, in addition to, of course, listening, gives you a great foundation to be able to be successful in anything that you choose to do.
Nicky, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Getting better at asking questions is so critical. And you mentioned, if you say what, why, how, when, who, you're going to get different answers. I remember when I had on Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, and one of my favorite books. And he talks about that in negotiations, and even more collaboration. Negotiation kind of has a negative connotation, but with collaborating with people, asking how can we do this creates a collaboration. So I love that you said that. I don't remember if he breaks down all of those things like you did, but yeah, that's great. Are there any resources you'd recommend as far as in general, not maybe about asking better questions, or just some of your favorite resources that you share with your team?
There's only two that I think I just remember of making such a huge impact on me. As an entrepreneur, there was Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth, which I also found really great for this leverage in creating an organization with structure and repeatability. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits was instrumental for me to understand what time management really was, not this concept of ticking boxes and doing lists. And the happiness hypothesis was about the rider and the elephant, and how, as self-managed, like to manage a team or manage a company, it starts with self-management and what that looks like.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Michael Gerber, I did an interview with him that was really fascinating about his journey and the E-Myth as well. I'm going to check out the happiness hypothesis. We are talking, Nicky, before we hit record, as well as like, you're not thinking this month, you're not thinking this year, you're thinking even beyond. And you were talking about some of the seeds that you're looking at planting now, so it grows 2 years from now, even. What are some of those things that you are like, these are the seeds we're planting now to harvest 2 years from now?
The asset of the value of my asset, which is my business, relates directly to the stability of its revenue and its growth trajectory for its revenue. And as a technology company, I know that if I roll out new products and services that have a ready-made market, I'm literally being able to capitalize on that market and pick the fruit from the trees that are flourishing. So the way that I'm looking at it is, what product development do I have to scope now in 2023 that's actually going to help me increase my revenue by 10 or 20 or 30% in 2025? So that's being able to understand the market conditions, understanding the adjacent markets that you've got, that you can sell another product into the same customer that will be of equal value as to the one where you've got the relationship now. So I'm looking at all of this organic growth within the organization that just is increasing its value, because I'm looking at increasing the bottom line or the top line revenue of what we're doing. And that could be new markets that I'm going into in terms of new countries. It could be new products that I'm rolling out to my current clients or potentially new clients, or it could be adjacent markets where we have a unique understanding because of the intersection that we sit between the financial institution and the publisher that not many other people can actually see or appreciate at the moment. So those are all of the investment decisions that I'm making in time, and therefore resources, to be able to look at us having a very steep growth curve in 2025. But it starts now, because if I don't do that product development now, then I can't put it into testing, that I can't get it into customer engagement, and I can't look at actually capitalizing on the revenue.
Yeah, because there's so many, this would drive me crazy because there's so many opportunities, right? Like expansion in countries, markets, whatever it is. But talk about the product for a second, because even before we hit record, you were saying, yeah, we have this, dashboard, it's pulling all this stuff in. Like what does that look like on the back end, some of the products that you have now even?
Yeah. So the product that we've got now, the performance product or the affiliate marketing product we've got for financial services, it has so much more depth that we can get into, like event-based tracking, event-based feedback from the publishers to the clients. We can get more intricate into files and data cutting and attribution. There's a whole lot more that we can do around that product. But then we've also got a content compliance tool, because in our area, compliance is so important that we need to be able to look at how we can help streamline and become time efficient with policing content related to financial products and what's important to regulators and things like that. So that's another product. And then another product that we're looking at doing and developing up is helping banks entering into, or credit unions entering into the financial space, be able to track their client acquisition through their owned media. So there's lots of different things that we can do that I just need time and money to be able to develop up. And that's where I'm seeing the payoff is going to be in 2025, 2024 and 2025, when these products are fully functioning up. And at the moment, every single day, we're capturing new use cases or new elements of the technology that we can break up and develop further to help the people that we're currently servicing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of technology behind the scenes that are running to making sure all this happens. My last question, Nicky, and I just want to say thank you. Thanks for sharing your story. Everyone can check out fintelconnect.com to learn more. My last question is just mentors, people that, it could be colleagues too, that helped you along the way, gave you advice along the way from your first company till now. And again, like growing, everyone starts somewhere, right? Growing from scratch to 100 people and then doing it all over again. Who are some of those mentors that have helped you along the way?
Somebody actually asked me this, like a friend's 15-year-old asked me, so how many businesses have you started? I said, 2. He said, not 15, 20? I said, no, I had a job and I loved my jobs. So before I started to be an entrepreneur, I actually was an employee and I loved it because I learned what I loved about the way that managers managed me or the way that companies ran or whatever else. Being an entrepreneur happened upon me. I'm not saying that I wasn't attracted to it, but it wasn't my first port of call in terms of how I started my career. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot through the good experiences and I learned a lot through the bad experiences where I didn't feel like I was treated well or something happened, which made me a very empathetic employer. I understand that my role is the custodian and health and well-being of the entire organism. But, I was a functioning cog in somebody else's wheel. So it really made me appreciate what that environment could be. And I probably learnt the most from my business partner, who's my husband. As we have gone on this journey together, it's been very, very, very helpful for me to have somebody that has the same value set and the same outcome and agenda so well aligned for us to be able to build something together, and the same risk, same
What
impact.
has he taught you?
To trust myself. Because ultimately I have to live and die by my sword. And that takes courage to be able to stand out on that ledge and say, this is the direction we're going. And to have somebody that actually believes in you and backs you up, whether you make the right decision or whether you don't, has basically given me the courage to trust myself and do pretty well with that.
Amazing. Nicky, I want to be the first one to thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Everyone check out fintelconnect.com, more episodes of the podcast. And thanks, Nicky. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like $100 grand.